Welcome to East Tennessee Pinball. Today we're starting work on this cover girl. And Jane's in the process of stripping down the playfield. I haven't done anything to it. I looked at the back glass, you see it's just like the paint is falling off of it. So I'm going to try to get this back glass out of here as gently as I can without losing any more paint. And I'm going to triple thick it. I just pulled this part. You see all the paint that's fallen and got trapped in the little reservoirs there. And if I just touch this like that, it's totally peeling up right there. See how that's not adhered at all. So it's going to be hard to do this. So you just got to take a couple brackets out of here. And then if I could finagle this out of here without the whole big sheet of it falling off, I mean, it's wanting to fall. So this is gonna be a trick. And if I can get it out of here without doing too much, I'll probably be able to save it at least in its current state, which is not great, but at least it's something. If the owner wants to later get a BG resto, get one remake, get a new one, you know, that'll be an option. But this is serviceable. I mean, it's not great, but it's okay. I might try to see if I can get something, put a bunch of spray down, and then put a weight to hold that down, and basically re-glue it down there. And you can repaint it, but it's not going to look like this one next to it and that one next to it. So that glass is not even in there very well. So anyway, I'm going to get a screwdriver, get those brackets out, see if I can get this thing out of the game. Well, I was only moderately successful pulling this out. As I lean this thing back to get it out, all these pieces were, see, they're just like, they were all hanging. I mean, there's really nothing attached to this glass. There's like just a little edge just kind of on there. So I've got these two. There's one piece.
There's another one here.
So I think that one goes like that. I can see the labels that it goes the other way. Jane's yelling at me, it goes on the bottom.
It might, because it's grass. I don't know.
I think that the words are upside down, so it must go the other way. Like that. I'm not holding the camera well at all, I'm trying to look at what I'm doing. And then there's another piece that's still up in here. I guess somebody has taped this, is what's going on. Shh. All right, somebody came to the door. So yeah, what these are is somebody's put tape, like masking tape, and so these are like little 1.5 inch widths of masking tape. So I mean, it's a way to go. If you're going to do it, I think box tape is a better way to do it, and probably you want to overlap them based on the results of this. But in any case, there's nothing really attached to the glass at this point. So I think I'll probably try to triple thick this down. I might put box tape on top of it also. I mean, this is, it's pretty trashed. I mean, it's functional if I can get all this to hold down in place and not lose any more. So but I think what I'll try to do is I'm going to just triple thick the heck out of it and see how that goes. I mean, it may not really adhere to the glass because there's paint and then there's tape on top of that. So I don't know if that triple thick will be able to penetrate and get to the glass. So we'll see. So here's the product. It's literally triple thick clear glaze. Product's number 0500. Lay it on pretty thick. Lay it on super thick on all the clear spots. Some people would tape them up. I don't do that. I pull it up so that it ends up being clear. I'm actually going to clean that window a little bit. There's a little bit of debris on there before I spray it, and I'm going to try to put it on pretty thick. So Jane's got this thing all stripped down. She started cleaning over here. You can kind of see the difference in color. Playfield's pretty nice. I mean, there's a little wear right here. Not too bad, and that's not really very visible at all. So I think this thing is going to turn out pretty good. Really nice Playfield. Too bad the back glass is such a crappy shape. So Jane got this game all cleaned up. Looks pretty nice. A little bit of wear on that pop bumper there. That's it. Probably touch that up. And you know, if you've got one of these and you don't feel comfortable painting, if you do nothing but just redrawing the black line, that really, in terms visually, that visually fixes about 80% of it. So if you don't want to mix paints, just get your marker, and not a magic marker, but a paint pen, an acrylic paint pen, and do the black, and that really is a lot of it. So she'll take care of that. These two targets here, they're painted and the paint's all gone. It's gonna be hard to paint because it looks like galvanized metal, so galvanized never takes paint very well. So I have to do something there. But this thing is really pretty good shape. Get the light shine through, you can see really, with the exception of that one spot, there's not anywhere. There's a little bit of line here. I'd polish that a little bit more. Put some lacquer on there or something, I'm not sure. Do something with that. But it's looking pretty good so far. So I just unscrewed that target there from the bottom. So I'm going to start working on that and painting it. Just had 2 little screws there. And yank it out. And I realized once I pulled out of here that these 2 pieces here, there's a pin that goes through there and the pin's pressed in. So, which say there's a pin that goes through and it's flanged. So to get that out would be kind of a pain, and then put it back in. So I'm just going to desolder it. Normally I would just take a picture, but Jane's got all the pictures. This is kind of Jane's beast mostly. I'm going to do all the mechanical stuff, but she's taking all the pictures for everything goes. So I didn't want to just take a couple pictures, have to keep up with them. So I just labeled these. That one's alone. This one's going to the jumper, and this one says adjacent to jumper. So I'm going to desolder these real quick, take this off, and clean this up. I'll probably just dump this in the ultrasonic. This stuff will just come off your fingernail. I mean, it's super. Yeah, see, I just tore that little hunk off there. It's all falling off. So I got some bonding primer, supposed to stick to anything, any surface. I mean, any surface. You spray this on your dog's tongue and it would never come off. Any surface. Django, do you appreciate that? Do you like that humor? Not so much. No. All right, well, we're going to give it a shot. So I'm going to desolder this real quick. And I know there's a lot of people, like, when it comes to working on a pinball machine, they're good until they get the soldering iron involved. If you're intimidated of soldering, you know, soldering on like an EM like this is like the easiest place to start. Big wires, and you know, there's not a whole lot to go wrong. Really, the worst thing to go wrong is drip solder down. So you put yourself a blanket or something, hold it out a little bit so you're not dripping down in here. That's probably the worst thing, and it's pretty easy. You know, a lot of times people are trying to hold this and hold their solder, and they need 3 hands. Typically, you can do it with 2 hands. Just put a dab of solder on your soldering iron. I need an extra hand because I'm holding the camera. Put a dab of soldering on your soldering iron and then touch it, and then it'll come right off. And see, that one's coming off even without the. If I just had yanked on it real quick, it would yank right out. There it goes. See, I did that with 1 hand without any fresh solder. So, you know, and that one's not going through at all. So that one will come right out. If I get to focus, I'm doing this all one-handed. And now this thing, maybe I'll just let it fall. I don't know. This one's pretty dry. And actually that one, I don't know if that wire is part of that or not. If it is, the other thing, something like this, you can always just snip it. And then tomorrow, guys, got to solder it back on. If you don't like soldering, you can snip them, and then you'll have to figure out how to solder them back on later. But so I can't tell by looking if that wire is the same as that one. I'm gonna put the camera down and see if I can desolder it though real quick. So I suspected that that was a separate wire, and it was. So all I had to do is put a little drop of solder on my soldering iron, and that kind of wetted it up. And it, basically having that fresh solder, the molten solder, then it can transfer the heat. When your iron is dry, when it touches something, it's not really touching it very well. And so it doesn't transfer the heat well. So having a little bit of wet solder on the tip of your iron allows that heat to transfer and then remelt the old solder that's on there. So now I've got this. So I really don't want to soak the contacts in the ultrasonic and everything, them on the process of rusting, but I may just set this in the ultrasonic like that and just strip that bare and then primer it real quick. All right, so that's been in there just a few minutes. Oops, geez, that's a mess. I just had that magnetic plate in there so it wouldn't sit down too far, and that cleaned it pretty well. I did brush it once about halfway through, and I see a little spot of red, so I'm gonna just clean it a little bit more and rinse it off some water. So I rinsed that down with a little naphtha, got the fan blowing on it, letting it dry. So in the meantime, I'll show you how this back glass turned out. About what you might expect. I mean, it's mostly glued down. There are some places where it's not. You know, there's still some bubbles, but it's mostly attached to the glass. Not perfect by any means, but you know, I think what I could say is I salvaged what I had, which was not great to start with, but now it's like permanently not great. So I'll flip it over here in a second and show you what the front looks like. It looks pretty much like it did when I started, but now the pieces of strips of paint basically are attached to the glass. So here's what it looks like. Django's growling at somebody walking by the front door. If you look up a little closer, you can see where like that's a place where the paint is separated back a little bit. I did get I don't remember which one of these was totally curled up and about to fall off. So anyway, yeah, there's another big kind of bubble pointing away. But you know, it doesn't look great. Doesn't even really look good. But wow, there's another big bubble there too. Yeah. So anyway, just held on to what I got. That's about all you can say with it. This one was pretty far gone. But you stick that in the machine and you've got a back glass. And when these things light, you're going to be able to see them light. It's probably going to look worse when they're lit. I'd say that's probably true. You'll see the holes. And somebody's already done some touch-ups where that was a complete hole. Somebody just painted it silver. Probably not a bad idea. But, you know, all that, this was all old repairs. Who knows how long ago that was. You can get one of these remade. They might have them in stock. They're generally $400-ish. If anybody ever wants to get one of them. Okay, I got this thing taped up. All of that said, a couple minutes, and I'll throw a little bit more on. 2 minutes elapsed. I'll let that go a couple minutes, and then I'll do one more final coat. So I put a final last coat on there, put it fairly heavy. I also pushed down the left and squirted it to the right, and I pushed down the right and squirted to the left to try to get in that gap a little bit, because you can see that obviously. So I'll let that sit and dry up, and yeah, Jane's not coming in today, so I can sit there. Well, it's Friday, so she can sit all weekend. By the way, I'm gonna try to convince Jane to paint this up on camera so you can see how she paints it. Put the camera up on the bench, and so y'all can see the details. She hadn't decided what kind of paint she's gonna use, and how she's gonna protect it. So it's gonna have to be something pretty durable, because it's gonna get smacked by the ball. So we'll see what she comes up with. So I've been working on this cover girl kind of in backwards. Hey Django, how you doing in there? Got the Playfield, most of the cosmetics mostly done. Hadn't really done anything yet to the mechanics of it. I just got through cleaning up the Jones plugs in the bottom and in the back. And I was getting ready to go through this mech and this mech, and I noticed on this one, the coin counter, it's basically, it was stepping up, and well, it's a little gummed up, but right there, you see that post right there, it's, so it steps down, it's hitting that like that should be at the 0, but it's still got 9. So either this is in the wrong spot or that post that it's basically jumped on the wrong side of that switch right there. So I'm gonna take this unit out and see, either move that post or move the switch on the other side of the post, or maybe just move this wheel. Some combination of that, so that when it's at 0, it says it's at 0. And now that I've got this unmounted, you can see that post there is hitting. It's opening those switches up, and those are supposed to open, but not until it gets to 0. And like I said, it's at 8. And that spring there, that doesn't look quite right to me, because as that thing winds up, I think that should be on the inside of that post. That just doesn't, because otherwise it's going to be way, see how that's not right. That should not be outside that post. So that somebody's had this apart and didn't quite get it back together quite right. I'm trying to think of what's the easiest way. Probably need to take the switch stack. So it's either one thing. Either you take the switch stack apart, or you mangle the switches up, bend them up so far as to get this thing to pass across. Yeah, I don't know. I know it's just 2 seconds for y'all, but it's been like a week for me. I've been working on other things, but I got this put back together. I got that post on the right side, got it adjusted. I cleaned up this unit, got it. I took that whole plate off there, got Scotch-Brite, got cleaned up, lubed up. That's not quite right. It goes right there. It's probably missing a staple. Yeah, looks like there was a staple right across there. I don't know how well that's focusing. I have to get something about that. But I got this thing put together, and yeah, I've got a couple of sockets. I didn't get the bolts back in. I want to get this thing fired up and see what it's doing. I haven't got that painted, and I want to see what it's doing. I haven't booted it up since I've gone through it, so I'm gonna plug it in and see what I've got. Oh, I've still got I did get some power cords, and this has got a really old, kind of dangerous looking, you know, not even the transformers grounded, but I'm gonna plug it in and let's see if it will do anything. See if there's a ball. Not sure that may just be. I just slapped the bottom of it. This has got the kill switch where you slap it. So when I hit that 10-point switch, something locked on. So I need to get some balls. I think that buzzing, a lot of these games, it's got a release on there where it holds that release in it. It will come and kind of buzz until you hit the first switch, and that will lock it in place. So it basically lets all the balls roll through. It's kind of common on some of these old Gottliebs. So let me go grab, I think, 5 balls. Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4. Y'all can't see in there, but I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'll do this again. Okay, I got some 5 balls. Wiped off all the old oil on there. Let me boot it up again. So we've got 2 things. We got a 10-point and a 1-point, looks like. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna try this one more time. I'll see which we had point scoring when it first started. I'm gonna try this one more time and just watch the score reel. Oh, out of units. There are credits. Let's try it again here. Let me turn it off and see if that. Well, maybe I didn't have points. I thought I had. Yeah. So the 10-point score reel is occasionally locked on. So I've got a 10-point switch probably stuck somewhere. That one right there is not. See how that one's popped up? That one is down. So I'm gonna check that switch. So that's one I touched earlier and it locked on. So maybe that's stuck. Okay, I've been playing around with this a little bit. You hear the one coil buzz right now. That is indeed this one right under here. As soon as I score a point, that will stop making a noise. There's also another one that's kind of noisy. It's the alternator. And so these lights go back and forth. When the light's on this side, that's the alternator's engaged. It's noisy. So as soon as I hit a switch, this one's going to go away. Now you hear a different one. There's an alternator under here. If I hit a 1-point shot, now it's silent. So those two coils are buzzing. I'm gonna have to take a look at those. This one's particularly hard because it's a fairly big coil. And these AC coils, they're bad about buzzing because they've got AC electricity. The electricity's going back at 60 hertz, so it's literally pulling and not pulling 60 times a second. So if there's any play in that coil at all, it'll start vibrating. And the simple harmonic frequency of the system wants to vibrate at 60 hertz, it's really gonna want to try to do that. So there's a couple of different tricks you can try to play, and so I'm gonna try to do that to this one, and that I should just pick it up and show you. So that's the one that lets the balls out, and that one stays engaged until you hit the first score. And the alternator is that one right there. So those two coils are kind of annoyingly loud. So I went through and I think I've figured out a couple things that are not working. This little ladder here. So when you roll over the center target here, it lights this up. So if you hit the white one, it would basically score the white 3. So it'd be the same as rolling over that white 3. And the white side's working. The red side is not. So that red switch just doesn't do anything. See, if I hit this one right now, that red one extinguished. So that's working. So that's not working. Also, well, I think that light's out right there. Or either that or it's alternating. I think it's just out. Yeah, it's just out. Yeah. A little flaky light there. These holes, they score 50 points no matter what. And it says special when lit. These things are lit at the beginning of the game, so I'm thinking whatever's triggering them to light is lighting the bulbs, but it's really maybe shouldn't be lighting them right away. I'll have to dig through the schematics over there and figure out that. But one thing at a time. I think I'll start by looking at this red switch. I had this out, so it may just not be making contact. I'm going to look under the playfield and see if that red switch is actually touching. So this was an easy one to find. So I desoldered all this stuff. I did not desolder that little piece right there, but it is not. It got hot enough and it kind of desoldered itself automatically. So that little jumper there should be on that tab, because you see the switch has got the two tabs and only one side is attached. So that's the problem with that. So I'm gonna put a dab of solder there, and that should take care of that. I'm gonna do that real quick. All right, so I got that switch soldered up. So I'm gonna light this light here by going through here. This light. So if I hit this red, well, red 6 should. Where's red 6? It's over here. So I'll press this button. The red 6 should go out. It does. Likewise, hit this white one, the white switch. So I have a little bit of friction. I pressed the red one, and the white one. I think that's what happened. Let me reboot it. Okay, let me press this red one. Oh, gotta hit the light. I had to hit that one to light it, so I'm gonna hit the red one so they're both lit. Oh, and that went to it went to 4 or 5. So every time you hit it, I guess it moves. So next it should take out the white 4 and the red 3. Okay, so that's working. Next thing is these are lit at the beginning of the game. So I'm going to get out the schematics and see if those are light. The other thing is, no matter what, if you put a ball in, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is 50 points. And now it says 150, and it still is going to do 50 points. So no matter what, it's always 50 points, and it's always lit. So let's dig into schematics, see what we can find. Okay, so I figured out the first half of this. So you got the 150 and the 150. Those are the 200 and the right pop bumper light. So right now we've got the 100 and the 100 and the left pop bumper. So you got 3 positions in this score motor. It's got basically 3 home positions. So you've got 3E, 1E. So that's the 3 places it can stop. So it's just randomly. So there, basically the question I had was, are they supposed to be on all the time? And yes, they are. There's nothing to turn these things off. 4E, actually 4E is normally open. 1E is normally closed. So it really should be only the So this may have something to do with special, because it does say special when lit, and there I just noticed there's another set of lights for these are the gobble holes, and those lights never, well, maybe I just didn't get them lit. So let me lower the Playfield and we'll see about that. Okay, so it says special when lit, and it's like, well, they're lit all the time, but there's actually there's a light that illuminates the hole. So, reading the instructions here, hit all red and white numbers 1 to 6 for lights holes for special. Okay, so we got to knock out every single one of these. Okay, I think they're all done. Yeah. But we don't have the special lights. So let's go back to the special lights. Special hole lights, Y and Z. And I'll bet you one of those is the white relay and one is the red relay. Go down here and look. Where's Y and Z? There's Y. Yeah, red sequence and white sequence. So one of those, or both of them, is not closing, so at least for the lights. I guess we could see if it's scoring, because it might be scoring now and just the lights aren't working, because those will be the separate switches on the same bank. So because what controls the scoring will be 40 volts or 35 or something like that. What controls the light is 6 volts, so there'd be 2 separate switches in parallel that are control the same relay. So you can have it where one works and the light works and the scoring doesn't work, or the scoring works and the light doesn't work. Even with the relay kind of halfway working, just one set of switches is not working. So let's throw a ball or two. Of course, it's on 50, so. Okay, so now it's on 150, and it should be lit, but it's not. And we'll see if we get 150 points. Still got just the 50. Okay, so let's check those 2 relays for the white and the red. So here's the Y and the Z relay. So if I walk around here on the other side, so it's these 2 here. They're both tripped, but that one's good. Y'all can't see it. If I press that with my finger, it's turned on both bulbs. So this one needs a little adjustment and or cleaning, further cleaning. I need another set of fingers. Kind of want to hold those and then hit the switch. If I can hit it, I'm gonna hit it. You're gonna lose. I still only got 50 points. Could have been on 50 points though. I'm gonna hit it one more time. Ignore this screen for a second. Still only 50 points. One more time. Still 50 points. Well, I figured out what the problem with the light is. I don't know why I'm only getting the 50 instead of the 100 or 150. I'll have to figure that one out. Well, these lights are working now, and the points are not the 100. It's always 50. The other thing has special value 1, 2, and 3. I'm guessing that's 1 game, 2 games, and 3 free games. So I'm gonna dig through the schematics, and I'm gonna look at the 50-point score reel, because there's not a 100-point score. Well, there's 100 and 150. So, actually, there may not be a 100-point relay, because there may not be a 100-point shot on this game. It probably is not. I'll look, but it probably just actuates a 50-point score relay 3 times, and the 50-point relay is basically pulls in, it hits the 10-point 5 times in a row. So if you hit that 3 times, you get the 150. It's kind of confusing, but I don't think there's a way for this game to just score 100 points other than rolling over the 10 unit. I don't see any. I don't know. We can look, see if there's a 100-point relay on here. I'm kind of thinking there's probably not. So there's a 50-point relay, a 5-point relay, a 10-point relay, and a 1-point relay. Oh, there is a 100-point relay. Okay, so I was wrong. So there's a 100-point relay. So let's figure out where the 100. Maybe just look at the 100-point relay, because that's probably used 3E. Oh, Jesus, cryptic. Yeah, you got to get the letter because it's a Gottlieb. 100-point relay. It's at location 3E. But it's number Q, letter Q. So that's it right there. That's not helping us very much. So that's the one just holds itself in. That's the 9th position of the 10s unit. M relay. What's the M relay? That's the 10-point relay. Yeah. Let's look at the 50-point relay. That's what I was going to. So it's a 4E and it's F. So there's 4E and we're looking for F. Okay. Looking for something that might make this thing go 3 times or 2 times. I'm going to study this and I'll get back to you. Well, so those holes are giving a credit, but only 1 credit, and always 50 points. So I'm thinking to myself, it's going 1/3 of a turn, 50 points, 1 credit, and stops. If it's going to give 100 or 150, the score motor is going to have to keep going, because it's those 5 knocks, the 5 are all on 1/3 of a turn. So it's going to have to be, I think anyway, it's going to have to be related to the motor. So one of these needs to stay closed until something resets, related to being in a special condition. So I'm going to try to go through these and see if any of these things are related to the special. I don't know. I figured out a couple things. This is not a typo so much. I mean, it kind of is. Depends how you want it. It's not a typo. It's just I interpreted it wrong. So these are the 3 locations that the motor can end up at, but it can't be at all 3 at the same time. So they've got it drawn with it at where it's sitting with the 100-point lights lit. So it's not going to have all 3 at the same time. So the next time it'll be 150, the next time it'll be at 50. So that's just the way it's drawn. I just wasn't thinking about it correctly. So this schematic is drawn with 100-point light lit. I still haven't figured out why it's not giving 100 points when it is in this position. But at least I know. So that is the drawing. So if I get all the switches on here are for that situation. Well, I have a thought. I may have found it. I'm not positive. So K is the whole relay. So that's the relay. There's a switch in the trough that triggers this relay called the whole relay, because it's the gobble hole. So there's that switch that energizes. There's K. So when this energizes, the K that gets closed, and it stays closed until such time, and that's the switch on the relay, until motor 3D opens. Well, 3D or the whole switch. 3D is just one place. So, well, it seems like that would be every third, unless one lobe of this is different, so that it knows, like if like the weird spot was like where my finger was at, it'd go 2 turns, and if the weird spot was already here, it'd have to go to 3 turns, and if the weird spot was right here, it'd just have to go to 1 turn. I don't know. Like if like we're only seeing the top, but there's multiple layers, so the top is uniform, but maybe the bottom one has a notch so it knows, like there's 3 home positions, but maybe there's 1 home position. You know what I'm saying? So that it knows if it needs to go 1, 2, or 3 times around. That's my theory. So, what was it, 3D? So what it was? If I find it, motor 3D. So that's up on top. It's that post. Well, let's just check and see if that's different for them. Maybe it's, I don't know. I'm gonna look at it. Well, that was a reasonable idea, except it's wrong. The switching that opens is based on this one right here. So when it gets to either one of these 3 notches, it's open. So the home, there's no super home on this. There's just 3 homes. So it's going to go 1/3. It's going to stop, or that K is going to open every single time. So I can come back here and confirm, there is a 100-point, that's the 100-point relay back here. So maybe it's going to either do the 50 or the 100, or the 50 and the 100, to do the 50, 100, and 150. So maybe that's what I need to be looking for, is some means of controlling, either doing the 50-point relay and the 100-point relay, or one or the other, based on its initial home position. So I'm thinking maybe that's the route. So I just need to dig into these a little bit further and try to find that. I mean, I've been through these forwards and backwards. I haven't found it yet. I'm about ready to give up for the day, sleep on it. Sometimes I just get, these are fairly simple schematics compared to like later ones. But anyway, I'm not seeing it. Add hundreds unit. Yeah, anyway, I'm gonna dig. Well, I should have looked at this earlier. My whole thought about having a 50-point and 100 points added together to get the 150, the game's not doing that. Because here's the 100-point relay. The only way this thing is powered up is through the 9th position on the 10th unit. So just basically rolling over. That Q there, that's just holding itself on until on the 100 unit. When the 100, that's the solenoid in the score reel, when it opens up, clicks, it basically breaks that and turns off the power for the 100-point relay. So the only way it does it is through the 10-point relay going through the 9th position on the 10th unit. So for it to do 100 points or 150 points, it's just doing the 50-point relay 2 times and 3 times. But I don't see where that's at. The only difference is the starting location of the motor, where it's at. So one of those, fairly convinced that one of the three positions is different. Even though I'm not seeing the difference, one of them is different, and something's not making contact. So I'm going to go through that score reel a third time and try to figure out what the heck is going on. All right, I finally figured out what this thing is, and it's a problem in the way the game was made. I'm pretty certain it's been wrong since this thing came out of the factory floor. So here's that K relay. So this is the one for the gobble hole. So when you go through the gobble hole, you run through a switch, it pulls in K. K stays in. When K energizes, it closes that switch which holds itself on. And that switch stays on until motor 3D, which is normally closed, opens. So that's on the motor. So when it starts running around, that's going to open. So here's the deal. Well, let's find motor 3D. Here's the motor. There's 3, and D is above, the one step above the stage. Let's walk over here to the game. I found that switch. It's this one right here. I've got it unwired. And it was mounted, well, there's 3 right there. It was mounted underneath. It was mounted, well, I've got to hold it backwards, but it was mounted like that. There was a little mechanism to operate it. But anyway, so it was at the level of the stage instead of up above it. So what happens is this thing is was the way it was wired. That thing was normally closed until it got to that gap. So as soon as it would come to the first gap, it'd open, and it would open up K. K would open and stop. So it'd go 1/3 of a turn, get 50 points, done. So it's supposed to be mounted up here, and you can see that post there. So it should be basically turned around backwards. So this, when that post hits here, it opens it up instead of having a gap open it. It's supposed to, the post is pushed on. It's supposed to open it. So if right there, that's the 150 point light. So if you hit K right here, it should have to go all the way around to get back here. So as you get 50, 50, and 50. And if you got the special lit, you get a knock, knock, and knock. You get 3 free games. And let me get this. If you're there, you're in the 100 point switch. So if you hit K, you get the 50 and the 50. So it's just a matter of this thing was in the wrong place. So I am going to fix it by putting this, I'm gonna have to get some kind of a spacer, but I'm gonna mount it right here where it's supposed to be per the schematics. And I'm pretty certain this has been wrong since the game was made. I talked to the owner. He's had this game. I mean, he's my age or something like that. He's had this game since he was a kid. His dad got it for him. So, I mean, he played the crap out of it as a kid. I asked him, he said he didn't remember. You know, if it was wrong, he didn't know it was wrong. But basically, it gives you 50 points every time instead of 50, 100, or 150. So it's kind of an important thing. 150 points is a lot. So if that thing's 150, you might want to shoot the gobble hole, especially if you got the match lit. Even if you don't have the match lit or the special lit, getting 150 points and losing the ball is probably worth it on this game if you're playing competitively or just want to get a high score. You know, it's worth it. 50 points, maybe not. So you're never going to get them with 150 or the 100 or the 150 the way it is. So again, I'm going to wire this thing up, and actually I'll put you all on the stand and I'll operate and I'll kind of show you what's going on. So if I hit the K switch, you see, well, maybe I'm not making it. There. Every time I hit it, it goes 1/3. But see if I manually close this, if I hold this closed, it goes. I let off right when I got there, so that's the way it's supposed to. That's the way it's supposed to behave. You just advance it one turn. So now it should be normally closed. I'm gonna just let off my finger when it gets here. I got the 100 points. So I just gotta wire this up and get some bolts and bolt it up here and see if it works. If anybody else has got one of these cover girls, I'd be interested to know if anybody else has the same issue. If they made them all like this, or if just this one, it doesn't look like anybody's monkeyed with it. I think that this was a factory error, and the schematics are correct. It's just the game itself is put together wrong. So anyway, I'm gonna get it fixed. All right, I got it. Added that switch down there, so it's up on the top of the stage where it's supposed to be. And so it's lit for 150. If I hit the switch, I should get 150 points, and it should rotate one whole revolution. Cool. So I'm just going to manually get it up. So it should be in the 100 spot. It is in the 100 spot. That's 150, 150. So if I hit the switch again, the whole switch should go 2/3 of a turn, and I should get 100 points. You'll hear it count to 10. Bop, 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 bop. So it's working. So yeah, they're usually pretty easy, except they're not when they're wired wrong. So one of the harder fixes to try to figure out. I've had one other game that was wired wrong like this. This one was wired wrong in a way that was more difficult though, because the way that was, yeah, on the wrong level. So the other one was more of an issue with the wires, the way it was done. This one was just in the wrong place. So bizarre. Anyway, I'm about done with this thing. I got to make sure all the lights are working on the back box before I put the back glass back in there. If you remember, I triple clicked the back glass. Well, for y'all it was like 10 minutes ago. For me it was several weeks ago. It didn't turn out. I mean, it's okay. It's a back glass. It's playable, you know. It's passable. It's one you like, well, maybe I won't spend the $300 to get a new one, or $400, whatever they go for. But anyway, I'm gonna make sure all these lights are working and do some play testing, and then this thing is about done. Well, that was one of the more difficult repairs, just that one little issue. But you know, I'm not sure the owner really cared that much about it, but it drove me insane. And Django was much happier having had it fixed. But it was, I don't know, for me it's fun. So I hope y'all enjoyed the video. If you do, click like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Say bye. Django likes to talk. Bye bye. Not really. Cheers.